On Story is brought to you in part by the Alice Clayburgh Reynolds Foundation, a Texas family providing innovative funding since 1979. On Story, presented by Austin Film Festival, a look inside the creative process from today's leading writers and directors. This week's On Story, Academy Award winner Tommy Lee Jones and The Three Burials of Melquiades Estrada.
We didn't have a conventional narrative structure. The past, present, future all kind of get mixed up, and the suddenness of our editing style, I think, works to our advantage because we're trying to create states of minds that you wouldn't conventionally expect in a movie audience.
In this episode, Tommy Lee Jones and crew discuss the challenges of bringing the acclaimed film to the big screen.
Guillermo Arriaga and I are hunting buddies. He's a good writer and a good teacher of screenwriting at the university there in Mexico City. And he's an avid hunter. He likes to kill things and eat them. And we were hunting out on one of our ranches, and I kind of looked around and I said, there's a lot of talent in this pickup. We ought to make a movie about Texas and Mexico. And he said, okay, where do we start? And I said, you should, I'll give you the congressional minutes of hearing about the death, or you could say murder, of Ezekiel Hernandez in Redford, Texas in the 90s. And I thought that'd be a good place to start exploring the concept of a border between two countries where the borders may not exist all the time, and sometimes it may, and then it leads to questions about and an interest in other concept of borders between the heart and the mind, and desire and reality, and it just goes on and on. We thought it'd be a pretty good basis upon which to make a movie, because I'm a Texan, he's a Mexican, and we wanted to make a movie about our country.
But I've never crossed people from this side to that side. Much less on horses.
Okay, take us.
And what about the price?
What price?
Price to cross you? It's 1,000 a person.
I don't have $1,000.
$3,000. 1,000 for you. And 1,000 for the gringo. And 1,000 for the dead guy.
I'll find a way to get across.
Well, the international border is legally in the precise middle of the flow of the river. If the river moves, the border moves. That's important to know. And if you go more than halfway across the river, you've probably illegally entered a foreign country. But we were able to fix that with an old movie trick. You just move the camera to the other side of the line that people are traveling, and it looks like when they're on this side, they're going away. When you're on this side with the camera, they're coming towards you. So we cheated in an old and honorable way, photographically, and then it worked, and we didn't have any trouble out of the Border Patrol that I knew about.
I would speak to Tommy in Spanish, even off set, and what was, I'm just going to mention it because it's to his credit. He speaks fluent Spanish, and the Spanish that he speaks isn't the Spanish that you see in the film. It's much more eloquent. He's much more of a Spanish speaker. So even he is able to capture an essence of that area.
¿De dónde vienes?
¿De Coahuila?
¿Qué estás haciendo aquí en Texas, hombre?
Buscando trabajo.
¿Qué clase de trabajo?
I myself had to pay attention too, and that had a lot to do with where I'm from too, because I'm not I have family in Ojinaga, Chihuahua, which is right there, literally. And so I know that whole area. So it was easy to kind of get into that kind of tone. But other than that, it wasn't overthought. That's how people speak. You know?
Well, this movie takes place in North Mexico and South Texas, and we're a bicultural society, and we have two languages. They're both crucial. They both convey a lot of poetry.
I'm from Mexico, so that's as much research as I probably needed. No. It's funny because I'm very fortunate to be in this film because there were so many talented people. I didn't do anything. All I did was work at a ranch. And while these gentlemen were making a movie, I was digging posts and fixing plumbing, and I had the good fortune of being invited by Senor Jones, and he invited me to his home and opened up his home to me, and I got to work. I never rode a horse before. I do have family who have ranches in Mexico and so on, but it's a different kind of world. I mean, this is very much from the perspective of being in Texas. But he put me in charge. Well, he had two men in charge that took care of me on his ranch, and they were from Mexico. And so as I began to have a relationship with these men who were teaching me how to put on my boots right and how to ride a horse and do all these things, and I was slowly becoming a ranch hand. I wasn't an actor, and I think what was happening is the more I was giving myself up to the work, and when you talk about the landscape, I mean, we could sit here and intellectualize everything, but when you have to get up and go to work, the last thing you want to do is put mousse in your hair. You know what I mean? I mean, you're going to work. So I had about a month to be on this ranch and kind of catch up. And I would never become what these men represent. But the more and more I got in it, the more I just sort of became this person.
¿Cuántos faltan en la otra trampa?
120.
Pues carajo, son un... ¿Y el patrón cuándo llega de Houston?
Sábado por la tarde.
Che niñito de papi. Dice que es un ranchero solo porque le compraron este rancho, pero ya quisiera verlo aquí rompiéndose la madre.
Ah, estás de mala solo porque desde hace rato la única mujer que has tenido es esta.
That place doesn't exist.
Yes, it does.
There is no Jimenez, man!
Actually, we didn't really have time to get that establishing shot of Jimenez. We were running out of time. We were running out of call sheet. It was the end of the day. We had a matter of minutes to shoot a half a day of work. Chris and I looked at one another, and I said, well, we'll just send the stills department up the hill with a camera and a hydraulic head and a couple of 2 or 3 sled dogs to help, and I wound up sending my wife, who was the stills photographer on the show, to the top of the hill to get that slow pan from left to right that establishes the town of Jimenez. It's a very important shot in the movie, and that's one of the ways we managed. We often found ourselves in desperate situations, looking for last-minute brilliant solutions to impossible problems.
I mean, I think for the biggest challenge for me was trying to get these guys to try to shoot the nighttime, all the night desert. The big struggle we had was Chris would complain he can't light the desert at night. So I think he noticed we basically came up with the philosophy to shoot everything in a dusk for night feel, which I think really played out. But every one of those scenes, we only had 7-minute windows to shoot them all. So I think that became the real challenge. When the producers come out and ask what you're doing for 3 or 4 hours in the afternoon.
It saved a lot of money on the lighting. We didn't have to light the desert, which Chris didn't want to do, and it wouldn't have looked as good if he'd had to light the desert.
So that was the real trick. It's not just timing it right; it's getting all the gear and people out in the middle of nowhere. Because as you know, Tommy likes to take us as far away from civilization as we can go.
But see, this movie's about borders between countries, as I said earlier, and there's a place in this guy Melquiades' head that is heaven, or the most wonderful place in the world, the land of the heart's desire, nirvana. And there's a border. And the the photograph for him is somehow kind of a key.
Jiménez es un lugar bien. Es un ranchito en medio de dos cerros. Y ahí el aire es tan clarito que sientes que puedes acariciar las montañas. Me cruzo un arroyo con agua bien fresca que sale de la tierra ahí mismo. Si vas a Jiménez, te juro que el corazón se te apachurra de tan bonito.
There's a border between your feet in the dirt and your imagination. Then the movie really takes all of these separations seriously and invite consideration of that within a dramatic narrative context, if that doesn't sound too far out. And the pictures, the photograph, the little Polaroid is a key. It's a thing, an object, a token.
Y esa es Evelia. Evelia Camargo, mi mujer.
¿Hace cuánto que no lo ve?
Como unos 5 años. Prométeme una cosa, Pedro. Que si me llego a morir acá, me lleves con mi familia y me entierres en mi pueblo. No quiero quedarme enterrado entre tanto
Primero yo, tú,
Prométemelo. Mira.
You've been watching A Conversation with Tommy Lee Jones on Story. Next up, filmmaker Roy Rutngamlug and his short film, Formosa, Texas.
My name is Roy Rutngamlug. I'm the writer-director of Formosa, Texas. The idea for the story of the film came from my childhood and kind of growing up in a small town in America, not looking like everybody else, and kind of being aware that there's a bigger world out there that I wanted to participate in. And so the film is a little bit about that experience. So the film is an identity piece, and it is about being stuck between two perceived cultures. I think one of them is America, and one of them is being maybe immigrant Asian. And so what I hope that audiences take away from the film is that this experience is probably a lot more universal than people might realize, just seeing it through the lens of this particular character. Coming up is my short film, Formosa, Texas. I hope you guys enjoy it.
Hi, how was everything?
起来，我弄啊！哎呀，赶快站起来，站起来，人家正在那等。Sorry。谁？
What? I can do the front.
No, we need customers. 去厨房，赶快准备。哎呀，来。
Hi.
Hey.
Do you know what you'd like?
Oh, I haven't really looked.
I can make some recommendations if.
Is there anything to do around here?
汤面。哎呀 ，delivery 20分钟就先，然后汤面，然后就最后了。
Order to go.
Did you just tell her I smell?
Come on.
It's not my fault. It's not fine.
Hey, bud. Been waiting on you. What you got going on, honey? Neat place, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
They got places like this where you're from?
Kind of.
I swear I had nothing to do with that.
Well, do you know how to dance to this?
Of course I do. So it's two-stepping. So it's 2 quick steps and 2 slow steps. Quick, slow, slow. And I start going forward with my left foot, and you go back with your right foot.
Okay.
Sounds good. So it's quick, slow, slow, quick, slow, slow.
你把妈妈留在这里一个人，这个都是为你做的，你这么不孝顺，想想看。黑恶。
Hey. I gotta go. Hey.
For more On Story, check out our free podcast at onstory.tv or search the iTunes store and get the book today, On Story, Screenwriters and Their Craft, on Amazon.